You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and that charm, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag
For what?
with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club,
Why?
buy some bottles, impress them girls.
what?
It's more than life.
Oh, fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And I'm Ethan. And man, feels like a while since we've had a win. And well, I guess it actually has been. And man, it feels good. And it was definitely exciting and an exciting way to get it. Definitely not your prototypical way to get it, and not your prototypical player either. Quarterback, tight end, returner. The only thing we didn't see him on was defense, but he even did play defense, recovering a fumble. But anyways, like always, we got a lot to get into. So can I get a menu? And so let's talk about that player. Let's talk about the player of the hour. And that player is Taysom Hill. You could say he definitely led us to that victory, carried us on the team on his back for the most part. But he definitely wasn't the sole player that led us to that victory. Alvin Kamara also definitely contributed as well, but Taysom Hill, he had 9 carries for 112 yards, 3 touchdowns, that long run for 60 yards, and 1 pass for 22 yards and a touchdown. And man, just the way he was able to pick up a lot of those short yardage gains, and that big run late there after the Saints gave up one of a big run themselves to that Kenneth Walker running back. They definitely needed an answer at that point in the game. After Chris Olave went out, it seemed as if they really had hardly any weapons at that point other than Alvin Kamara, and he stepped up big. And also it was great seeing that was seemed like almost like perfect timing there to finally have him throw a pass when they were down in the red zone, to have him pull up like he was gonna do the quarterback draw, and then have him pull up and just throw a pass there. That was great, and definitely just that just completely faked out the Seattle Seahawks defense, and that definitely was a great game plan by Pete Carmichael throughout the game. So definitely was great. And then the fumble recovery towards the end of the first half on that very odd punt attempt. I don't know what that was. One of the weirdest things I've ever seen by a punter. It was just so odd. I don't know if he was thinking that he was gonna run for the first down, or if he got scared in his punt attempt and he just panicked, and then he just I attempted to take off, and then he fumbled, and I don't know if that was credited as a fumble recovery or what. But either way, Taysom Hill jumped on it. But that was just one of the best overall total performances I've ever seen by a player. But he almost did, just like the the Saints all year. He almost had a miscue of his own because after Deontay Hardy went out on Taysom Hill's first kickoff return, he fumbled and almost lost it. So it could have there could have been a blemish on his performance if he would have lost that fumble, but still a great performance nonetheless. And then let's see. But he wasn't alone in his performance. Alvin Kamara was amazing as well, and he wasn't just amazing in the running game; he was amazing in the passing game as well. But on the ground, he had 22 carries for 103 yards, and he had 6 carries for 91 yards. But with all those touches, he wasn't able to get into the end zone. All those touchdowns were left for Taysom Hill, which he was really good at in the red zone. He definitely was definitely the goal line threat. Taysom Hill was. But probably the best play of Alvin Kamara was that little screen play that was perfectly timed by Andy Dalton and dumped off. And he just, on that screenplay, Alvin Kamara just had a convoy out in front of him. If you see the replay of that, he had like 3 offensive linemen just perfectly set up in front of him, and he gained 54 yards on that play. And out of his 6 targets, Alvin Kamara caught all 6 of them, and that was just a great performance. And he and an honorable mention. It was disappointing that he ended up leaving the game, but even Chris Olave had 4 catches for 54 yards, and obviously the touchdown that he got the concussion on. But man, that's just great performances by both of those players. But let's talk about a little bit of a negative from Sunday's performance, and that was the defense. And I've been kind of harping on them a little bit as them being kind of low-key bad over the last 2 weeks, against Carolina and against the Vikings, and a lot of people, in the media and other podcasters and writers, that they've been kind of talking like, oh, the Saints defense, like they're good. They're the only people that have been keeping the Saints in games. And the last 2 weeks, I've kind of been saying I think they're low key kind of bad, and they finally showed their true colors in this game. And that showed up in the first Seattle Seahawks drive, honestly, because it looked like I guess it was after they picked up their first down, I think, and then they were about to get them off the field on 3rd down or like right at midfield there, and then they completed a 50-yard touchdown to DJ Metcalf, where what was it? Paulson Adebo just completely got roasted, and then Tyrann Mathieu was right there where he looked like he could have tackled him or pushed him out of bounds, and didn't even seem to try, really. So other than the interception that I guess the interception against the Vikings that led to the touchdown against the Vikings, and I guess the fumble recovery week 1 against the Falcons, I would be kind of say that Tyrann Matthews has kind of been a disappointment this season. He's been kind of bad this season. Other than just being opportunistic and turnover opportunities, he's not a very good tackler. He seems to be making a lot of business decisions, if you know what I mean. And Paulson Adebo gets beat pretty regularly as well. I think maybe he's not fully healthy from his ankle injury from the Chargers game or the practice leading up to the Chargers game. And then also once again from towards the last play, I guess, to the last drive of the the last play of the first half, the last drive of the first half for the Seahawks. Paulson Debo got burned again, but I don't put that play completely on Paulson Debo because TJ Gray was in perfect position to make a play for that. Like he was where he needed to be for a safety over the top, but he just couldn't get over there to help him in coverage and make a play. And that just burned them for like a 37-yard touchdown to let the Seahawks take a 19 to 17 point lead. Luckily, they missed the extra point to keep it within a 2-point lead at that point in the game. And I think may have been the Seahawks. And once again, and Paulson Adebo showed up again in this game. I think it may have been like the Seahawks' third drive. Paulson Adebo took a bad angle. It wasn't just Paulson Adebo. It was Pete Warner, Mario Davis, and Paulson Adebo all took a bad angle on Rashad Penny, and he picked up like, let's see here if he's on here. Rashad Penny picked up like a 32-yard gain. Like, man, they were just getting burned for like 30 plus yard plays in this game, like all day. Yeah. And like I was mentioning, the play before, the drive before Taysom Hill's 60-yard play, Kenneth Walker went for, it wasn't even like that big of a hole. It was a big hole, but there was defenders there that just completely got turned around on the Kenneth Walker 69-yard run. And well, once again, it was Tyrann Matthews who was the closest to him, and he just like even before Kenneth Walker was completely gone, he was just jogging at the end. He didn't even seem to put full effort to see to like attempt to chase him down at the end, like the guy. It was Woolen, I think, that kind of chased Taysom Hill down at the end and attempted to force a fumble on him to try to keep him, at least try to force a fumble and try to stop him at the 1 yard line. Like, where is that effort from the Saints defense? Those are the type of things that annoy me from a defense when they don't even try to stop big plays or don't even put in full effort. Like I hope that's things that they're harping on in practice. Because look at this. This is the big plays that happened that the Saints allowed. So Kenneth Walker had a 69-yard play. Rashad Penning had a 32-yard play. Those are two rushes, and then Tyler Lockett had the 37-yard touchdown and had the 40-yard touchdown, which that was in the second half. And that's the play that when if you go back and watch that, there was like 4 defenders there. That happened on, that was against Paulson Adebo as well. And that was the play that Marshawn Lattimore got hurt, but there was 2 safeties there. Evans was there. There was like 4 defenders back there on that play, but that was 2 30-plus yard plays. But he had the 37 and the 40-yard touchdown pass. There was the 50-yard pass touchdown pass by DK Metcalf, and then there was the 32-yard reception by Noah Fant. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 30-plus yard plays yesterday. That's just ridiculous. Man, they got to be better than that. I well, I got to go on something else. I'm gonna be talking about the defense too much. I'll probably end up bringing them up here again later. We'll probably talk about turnovers and takeaways. I'll bring them up here again in just a second. But anyways, let's talk about Andy Dalton, because he didn't have a huge day today, but I think he actually played pretty well, actually. Um, uh, you know, he was 16 for 27 for 187 yards, a touchdown and an interception, but was only sacked once. The interception he threw was a bad one. I think that was on the reason it was bad was because it was only like, I think it was 2nd and 14, so it wasn't necessary to throw that, to try to get it to try to get all the yardage back on 2nd and 14. He could have just thrown something underneath to try to pick up half the yards. And I think the player he was throwing that to was Traquan Smith. So to trust a player like Traquan Smith to fight for the ball was probably not the wisest decision either. But really, that was probably his worst pass of the game. But I think his numbers were kind of not inflated, but a little deflated, because his wide receivers really didn't help him out in this game, because he had 2 horrible drops by, once again, Traquan Smith. He had 1 horrible drop by Traquan Smith that would have converted a third down. He had another one that would have been a huge pickup. I think would have been maybe like a 30-yard gain that would have set them up in the red zone. And then he would have had another one that was dropped by Adam Troutman that would have been a touchdown even. And then he even had one, I believe, that was dropped by Chris Olave. So, I mean, he had 4 drops there, and even one, like I said, that would have been a touchdown. So, I mean, his numbers, like I said, were deflated. So I think Andy Dalton actually had an underrated game. And I think his best throw of the day was the one where he was under pressure, and he stepped up in the pocket and avoided a defender and threw it for a first down to Juwan Johnson. That was a really impressive play, and that's kind of stuff that you over the first like two games that we've seen. I guess that was first 3 games that we had seen. Jameis Winston, that's not really a play that you'd see Jameis Winston make, because he kind of panics under pressure. He doesn't really keep his eyes downfield like that, and doesn't really step up in the pocket like that. So that was probably his best throw of the day, is that play where he evaded defenders, kept his eyes downfield, and stepped up in the pocket and made that throw to Adam Troutman. So like I said, I think a lot of the talk is about how great Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara were, but I think low key Andy Dalton did a great job of being a game manager, and with the amount of talent that's on this team, even without Michael Thomas being healthy, even without Jarvis Landry being healthy, and even with Chris Olave going out, if the defense can get it together, I mean, that's really all you need as a game manager. So let's go on to, I guess, some takeaways, turnovers and takeaways. And once again, had the weekly running back fumble, and that was just a horrible uh, turnover that the Saints were about to at least go back up by 7 points because I think it was 13-17 at that point, and they were about to get back into field goal range. They were about to get to that was like a little dump off pass to Alvin Kamara, and he was about to get back to Seattle's 40-yard line there with about 30 seconds left in the game at the end of the half there, and he had like free runners running at him, and I just don't know how you fumble there when you see the defenders. I understand sometimes when you have a defender coming behind you and chopping at you, or you don't see the defender and they hit you from behind or something, or you just turn and you see the defender at the last second, you get blown up. But I mean, he saw the defender head on and just gets blown up and fumbles, and I just don't understand that. And the Saints were in perfect position to at least get in field goal range to take the lead back. I guess that would have been 20-13, but instead they fumble and Seattle gets the ball back and just marches down the field easy, and they get that 37-yard touchdown to Tyler Lockett to take the lead back 19-17. That was just a completely ugly. That was just an ugly series there. But then Saints were lucky to have a couple of their own takeaways, and that was how the Saints were able to get their 17 points. Was the fumble by the weird fumble turnover on downs, whichever it was, by their punter, and that was great. But I guess it was in the second half, the DK Metcalf fumble, which I when you win, I guess you're not complaining about the refs as much, because that was such an odd play there, and that's I think that's Pete Warner's second fumble on the season. But honestly, I thought that was not going to stand as a fumble or a takeaway, because I thought that if it was going to be an incomplete pass, I honestly thought his forearm was going to be down. I thought he was going to be a downed player. So there were some things that went the Saints' way in this game that I was very surprised by. But man, the Saints seemed to have caught some breaks in this game. And speaking of breaks, we will head on and talk about some injuries, because the Saints, it's not a Saints game unless they come out of it beat up, and they definitely came out of this game relatively beat up and bruised up. And I guess it was on, I think this was maybe Deontay Hardy's second kickoff return. He fumbled, he muffed the kick, the ball coming out of the end zone, and that's probably why he got hurt, because it allowed the defenders to get down there quicker, and he wasn't really combobulated. He was discombobulated when they got down there, and I guess that led to him getting, I guess what I'm hearing is a severe case of turf toe, and if that's the case, and he's going to be out for the next 2 months, then maybe his season is over due to that. So might be losing Deontay Hardy for the rest of the season due to that. And then on the touchdown to Chris Olave, looked like he got a very serious concussion there. He caught it and made a couple steps, but due to him trying to keep such control over the football there, he wasn't able to brace himself, and man, his head just dribbled off the turf. That was a very ugly concussion. And like I said, I was talking about the refs earlier. when I originally saw that, I didn't think there was any way that they were going to call that complete. So, like I said, the refs were somewhat on the side of the Saints in this game, uh, whether you believe it or not. But I almost want to say that that was a a, um, a feel bad call, as if they felt bad for Chris Olave or something. That's why they they let the call stand. Uh, but yeah, and then on the 37-yard or the 40-yard touchdown to the second touchdown to Tyler Lockett, the 40-yarder. Um, uh, uh, Marshawn Lattimore just happened to be back there, and he took a knee to his abdomen, and that's the one I hadn't heard that much about. So I don't know if that's anything serious. I don't know if that's going to end up being like a hernia or a torn muscle in his stomach, a torn muscle or anything like that. Let's hope that's nothing serious, because the Saints are already struggling at safety and at corner with Paulson Adebo not playing as good as he was last year. Somewhat of a sophomore slump so far. So definitely can't lose him with them playing the Bengals and Jamar Chase next week. But I definitely, with Chris Olave and his touchdown, what I was wanting to say. I think that was a sympathy touchdown. That's the term I was looking for. But then finally on to my hot takes and score predictions. No, I don't think really you could say that my hot takes of Marshawn Lattimore or Geno Smith really having one of his worst games hitting at all, because Geno Smith was 16 for 25 for 268 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the Saints, they did get after him. They had 3 sacks. Cameron Jordan, he was probably one of the only bright spots in this game, because he had a sack and a half in this game. I was a little surprised when I looked at this when it said a sack and a half, because I thought he had two full sacks, but he had a sack and a half. But I thought at times they got relatively good pressure on him. He had a 75.4 QBR, which that's really good. For some reason, I don't have just the regular quarterback rating here in front of me, but I had Marshawn Lattimore having a bounce back game and having a interception in this game. But Marshawn Lattimore actually had a pretty good game in this game, because most of the yards and catches and stuff and touchdowns happened against Paulson Adebo and other players, because honestly, DK Metcalf didn't really do anything against Marshawn Lattimore. I'm not sure Marshawn Lattimore really gave up any catches in this game, because DK Metcalf at one point had like an offensive pass interference against Marshawn Lattimore, and the one time DK Metcalf almost had a big play on Marshawn Lattimore. It was almost like another 50-yard something touchdown. I think Marshawn Lattimore may have like fell down or something, and you saw DK Metcalf prancing into the end zone with like no one around him. Luckily, that got called back due to it looked like a kind of a suspect holding call on the Seahawks. Luckily, and that got called back. Thankfully, that got called back. And but honestly, I think I think Marshawn Lattimore did actually kind of have a bounce back game, but he didn't have an interception like I was saying. So I don't think neither one of my hot takes really hit. And then my score predictions didn't hit either because I said 27-20 Saints, but I did pick the Saints to win, and my score prediction was what was right in regards to it being within 7 points because the Saints did win by 7 points. But other than that, uh, I don't think I really guessed anything too correctly. But with that, I think that's all I have for you this evening. So it's glad to see the Saints maybe have gotten back on track, and they definitely that was a must win, and they got it. So with that, who dat? And can I get a menu?